Hello guys, this is QP. Currently I'm studying at University of Texas at Austin. I used to be quite an ordinary Japanese junior high and high school student. As for reference, here is my high school's hensachi. Of course it should be a little bit higher than the average of the entire Japanese high schools, but it is not like something advanced, of course, right? And also both of my high school and junior high were public school, so I was quite ordinary, and I have a quite ordinary Japanese background. So in today's video, I'm gonna talk about my junior high and high schoolhood and a little bit about after I entered in my university. I also like to explain how an ordinary Japanese kid entered Western University and turned able to speak English, and then now currently studying at University of Texas at Austin, which is quite highly ranked. So let me firstly talk about my junior high schoolhood. I suppose I do not have that much things to talk about my junior high schoolhood. As I said before, because my junior high school was a public, I automatically went to the school from my elementary school, so there was no juken for my junior high school. So when I experienced something like juken for the first time was definitely, koukou juken. But at the time, I was I didn't want to study anyway. So instead of studying, I put emphasis on something like extracurricular activity. So I firstly started with doing 生徒会長みたいな, and I did everything with 超. I did even ovendancho on the sports day. Anyway, I kept that sort of extracurricular activities. I went to my high school with recommendation. So eventually I did not any study, any decent study for my high school. But as for my junior high school English level, I do not have that much to talk about. But I would say I just like to sing, because I like to sing. If I heard some songs which attracted me, regardless of the language, I try to sing it. So it should be better than nothing, I guess. But still, I was not top of the year, and I turned a high school student. Just after I turned a high school student, my parents used to say I have to go to public university. So I was somehow striving for my studying decently, especially math, because I've been quite bad at math, but eventually I couldn't make it anyway. Yeah, I was sometimes crying because of my lack of mathematical skills. So instead of studying math, I became more focusing on studying English. But it was not I was striving for it, because it was my favorite subject and I could get high score. So yeah, that is why I could keep striving for it unconsciously. So when I was in first grade of high school, it was not I was the first place, I was the top of our year, but I could take first place at least in my class every time, but only in Komiue. I was quite bad at Eihyo. So in Komiue exam, I could take more than 90 every time, but in Eihyo test, I used to take probably 50s or 60s or something. Yeah, probably I just didn't like something seemed to be a bit komakai things. So just for your information, I also cover how I prepare for Komiue exam. Basically what I did is take the class quite seriously and then go home and then read it aloud. That's it. This is because basically Komiue exam are all the passages from the textbook, so as long as you remember all of the textbook, you can take the score, obviously. So yeah, that is how it works. But after I turned a second grade of high school, some sort of English vocabulary quiz started. It's obviously that way. However, I used to have a friend who I still keep in touch, and she was quite decent and serious about her grade. So she was studying for the quiz every time quite seriously. So because I used to be with her all the time, accordingly I followed her. So every morning and every break on the quiz day, I was studying with her. So luckily I was not left behind because of my English vocabulary level. So as of my second year of my high school, I could take at least within the 5th place in every regular exam, but I turned unable to take first place in my class. This is because of the friend. And in later half of my second grade, I was I needed to, find my shiboko, so I started to research on it. But because I had no dream at the time right now, so I was looking for somewhere that I can raise my English and highest place among them. So eventually I decided to aim to school international study at Western University. And although I was quite good at English at that time, but in other subjects, I was like, average or less than average. So I used to feel like kind of embarrassed to say that I am aiming to the Western University because, I was stupid at the time. And basically quite like shoshimono. So I didn't even tell that to my teacher, even in something like mendang. And I think I've mentioned about this in other video. If you want to go to sales, you definitely have to take like 18 pre-first grade at least. So I started to study for it at the same time. So after I turned the third grade of my high school, what I did for my English course is just to take the class seriously and I go home and I read the passage around. That's it. Nothing has changed. And my whole English study at the time was mostly, study of AKIM. Of course, I studied for Kokugo or Sekaishi as well, but I have no time to talk about that today. So, I might make some videos for them later on someday. So at the middle of my third grade, I could take first place in lyricism and I could take first place in Moshi in school. But this is partially because the friend I mentioned went abroad and started to study there. And probably in September or October of my third grade, I could have, successfully take the AKIM pre-first grade. And after I took it, I became focusing on more Kyote or, Akahon no Shukai. And finally, I successfully passed the, entrance exam of Western University. So as of passing the test, I did not speak English at all. But because I had passed the AKIM pre-first grade already, it was not like at all. I mean, I could speak a little bit, but when I look at the file scale, the AKIM pre-first grade is probably B2, B1, I forgot anyway. So I'm not sure if I can say that fluent or something. And I finally turned a university student, and in my department, every classes are taught in English. Insane. But luckily I had classes for ESL, probably it was 4 hours per week, but it was not like just teaching English, rather it was like, just providing us with opportunity to use English with like discussions or the sort of activities. So basically our like personal effort, our personal striving is essential. But if you got excessively overwhelmed by English, it would be kind of hard to make it, but basically like it's okay because interestingly, if you do not speak English, it doesn't matter to your grade. So I know some students who are quite proficient in English because they have studied abroad for a long time, but they failed class. Anyway, I think what contributed to my English ability best is probably recording monologue. So it was like using the story of Instagram. I was recording my own speaking. So basically I talked about things of the day or just something I found interesting. And when I tried to talk something I actually want to speak. But in the process of this, you definitely find something you cannot express in English. So every time I found it, I look up and restart the recording and I get so many takes until I, get satisfied. And eventually you can talk about the topic quite smoothly within 1 minute. But it was not like my decent routine. I was doing it just I wanted to do that. It's a bit hard to explain it, but it's just fun if you are able to speak English quite smoothly, even if the topic is limited, right? So probably the reason why I could keep doing it is because, I could have fun with it. If I had friends at my college, I could talk with them, but it was not the case for me. And our study abroad, what I'm doing now is basically my school sales makes it mandatory to study abroad for 2 semesters. There's something like selection in my university. So you might go South Korea, Philippines, China, different countries, Northern America, Southern America, anywhere. So basically you can go anywhere if you pass the selection. So basically, their selection is 1 year before you actually go study abroad. And for the selection, you will have to have a high GPA in your first semester, and you also have to take a TOEFL or IELTS, that sort of like external English ability test. And what I chose for my choice was University of Texas at Austin. This is because I just wanted to go to the United States, and my score of TOEFL at the time was only 82. Yeah, that's terrible. I know. Based on my conditions, I looked for some universities, and I ended up with University of Texas at Austin. I passed the selection, I kept studying English, and now. And today, I've just talked about my itinerary so far, right? So I haven't touched on my English study that much deeply, I think. But in today's video, I have one thing that I actually want to tell for those who are studying English in Japan right now. That is about we can never be like a native speaker. It means if we can understand what native speaker is saying, it doesn't mean we can be like native speaker. This is not because I'm pessimistic. This is like scientifically supported argument. In the first place, it is said the part of brain native speakers activate and the part of brain ESL speakers like us activate are different. I mean, the part of brain ESL speakers activate is related to detecting errors, and this part is identical to the part which is activated when you do math. If you speak your native language, you basically do not have to activate that part. And also, individual language use is significantly influenced by cultural and societal factors, societal identities. So unless you have some sort of native speakers cultural background, or unless you're in native speakers social stratification, it would be quite difficult to be native, and it's almost like impossible. But in other words, depending on the context, right or wrong or natural or unnatural will vary, right? So basically, of course, we have to pay attention if the language use is appropriate to the context or not. But we basically do not have to care about it if that is native or not, right? And also, we are Japanese native speaker. That is wonderful. Actually, I've met so many JP and EM bilingual, but some of them do not have some sort of Japanese general and basic knowledge. This is just because they have been abroad for too long time. So given that, it is quite advantageous to study English, having Japanese common and general background. So my current perspective is if you do not have some sort of English background from your childhood, it doesn't matter, and you do not have to be pessimistic, because I didn't have no English background when I was childhood or junior high or high school, right? というわけでいかがでしたでしょうか。ちょっと普段よりもね真面目寄りの動画になってしまったかもしれないんですけど、なんでしょう、大人になってから英語を勉強している人の励みになればね嬉しいなと思います。でもし質問とかリクエストっていうのがあればねこいつらも動画の糧になりますので何かとこのコメント欄に書いていただけたら嬉しいです。そんなところかな。というわけでご視聴ありがとうございました。チャンネル登録と高評価お願いします。なんだこいつ。というわけでご視聴ありがとうございました。バイバイ。